It's time now for the business news with Catherine Bennett. Good afternoon, Catherine.
Good afternoon.
There's been a sort of breakthrough, if you will, in those trade talks between China and the United States.
A breakthrough, yes, but it is rather anticlimactic. So US President Donald Trump said after a meeting with the Chinese Vice Premier on Thursday that a deal to end the tariff war between the two countries could be reached within 4 weeks. So while this does signal progress, it's not going as fast as businesses and investors would like. It was hoped that the two countries would be able to hold a summit this month to put an end to the months-long sanctions war which has rattled global markets. Tensions between the two countries are even touching academia. The Massachusetts Institute of Technology is ending research and funding ties with Chinese telecoms groups Huawei and ZTE. And it's not the first university to make this decision. Stanford and Oxford University have also stopped taking funding from the firms. It comes in the light of accusations from the US government that the company's products could be used for espionage. Samsung has warned that its first quarter profits would be drastically below 2018 results. It estimated that its operating profits for the 3 months up to end of March would be around 6.2 trillion Korean won, a sharp decline from last year's 15.6 trillion. The company blames lower prices and slow demand in its memory chip division. Now let's take a look at the markets. European markets opened slightly higher today off the back of optimism from this progress made in the US-China talks. London's FTSE and the CAC 40 are in positive territory now, up by 0.1%. The DAX has been hovering around the flat line, creeping into the red on investors' worries about German factory orders, falling at their sharpest rate in 2 years. South America's third largest economy is continuing to sink, despite a massive IMF bailout fund. But as part of the package, Argentina's government pledged to cut government spending and raise utilities prices, unpopular measures that have sparked regular protests. Claire Muffson reports.
Thousands of marchers took to the streets of Buenos Aires on Thursday, protesting high unemployment and government austerity measures. A year of economic turmoil pushed President Mauricio Macri to secure a record $56 billion bailout from the IMF last fall. As part of the deal, the government promised to tighten economic policy, cutting spending and raising utilities prices. But some analysts say the plan, combined with sky-high interest rates, will perpetuate the recession. The annual inflation rate climbed rapidly from 25% in April of last year to over 50% this February, hitting individual spending power hard. Around 1/3 of the population is living below the poverty line, the highest rate in 8 years, and homelessness is on the rise.
We've been living on the streets for 3 years. My husband worked as a builder and we rented our home. And then from one moment to the next, the job ended and nothing. We couldn't pay, so we were evicted.
Soup kitchens like this one have seen a steep rise in traffic. A year ago, it saw an average of 100 people per day. But in recent months, as many as 700 crossed the threshold daily in search of their next meal. Things aren't likely to improve in the short term. The economy is expected to keep shrinking over the coming year.
And now let's have a look at some of the business headlines for you at this hour. Google has disbanded an ethics advisory council only 9 days after its launch. The tech giant set up the external council to provide ethical guidance in its work in artificial intelligence, but it was forced to scrap it after protests over some of the appointed members, including the head of a right-wing US think tank. Snapchat is hoping to channel user growth by adding games to its platform. The US tech company said on Thursday that it would host original games and games from external developers. It's an attempt to turn around the company's fortunes after a difficult 2018 when it lost users and staff and suffered product problems. Pop star and businesswoman Beyoncé Knowles is partnering with sports brand Adidas. Knowles said she would be relaunching and expanding her sports clothing range Ivy Park with the German company. It comes after she ended her collaboration with Philip Green, the British retail tycoon and chairman of Topshop, last year, after he was accused of sexual harassment. Foreign investment in France is on the rise. In 2018, more than 1,300 new projects were announced, a 2% increase on the previous year. Yena Lee has been looking at the numbers.
Choose France. It's the motto the French government has been using in a bid to attract more foreign investors. In 2018, the number of new foreign investments in France went up just 2% compared to the year before. It's a slowdown compared to 2017's impressive 16% growth. Put into the global economic context, France still sees the latest numbers as a win.
The fact that you had a slowdown of the economy, you got a massive constraint on the overall trade agreements. And the fact also, never forget that China or some of the major countries reduced the investment means that this performance is actually remarkable.
The number of jobs created thanks to the new projects has, however, gone down by 10.5%, despite 1/5 of investments directed to the manufacturing industry. The US and Germany are still France's top investors, representing 18% and 14% of foreign investment respectively. This year, the UK has also made it to the top 3, Brexit uncertainty pushing investments across the channel.
I think there is, with no questions, a Brexit effect. Brexit, combined with the different reforms of the governments, has really basically calling on more of the investors. And typically, when UK, you want to hedge your bet. You want to basically look at how you're going to continue to do business and access to this amazing market, which is the continental Europe.
In 2018, UK investors launched 118 projects in France. That's 33% more than the previous year. Some 3,000 British firms employ 170,000 people in France, a number Macron's government hopes is on the rise.
Getting divorced can be expensive, so imagine what it's like when you're the world's richest man. Amazon founder Jeff Bezos and his wife Mackenzie Bezos have agreed a record-breaking divorce settlement. Mackenzie Bezos will hand over her Amazon voting rights to her former husband, but will keep stock worth more than $35 billion. She will also give him all of her interests in the Washington Post and Blue Origin, Bezos' aerospace company. It resolves investors' questions over who would have voting power in the business. And while Jeff remains the richest man in the world after the settlement, the agreement has now made Mackenzie one of the 5 richest women in the world.
Not too shabby.
Not too shabby as a deal.
Thank you very much for that, Catherine. Catherine Bennett there with a look at the day's business news. Stay with us. More to come. We're live from Paris.